How can ChatGPT provide completely different answers for the same question? Let's look at 3 examples. In this video, I'm going to ask ChatGPT the same thing, but it's going to provide different responses based on the role I give it and the audience I define. Let's check it out. So first, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to explain 5th graders how water vaporization works. You are a 5th grade science teacher. Explain the process of water vaporization to your students. So if you look at the response that we received from ChatGPT, you'll see that it's pretty straightforward and simple. It's written in a way that a 5th grader can understand why and how water vaporizes when it's boiled. Now, let's ask ChatGPT the same thing, but for a different audience, and let's give ChatGPT a different role. So this time, I'm going to give ChatGPT the role of a university professor, and I'm going to ask it to explain the process of water vaporization to PhD students. So here's the prompt. You are a university professor. Explain the process of water vaporization to a group of PhD students. Craft your explanation to be clear, detailed, and tailored to their advanced level of understanding. So if you look at this response from ChatGPT, you'll see that it's way more detailed and it's written in a way that's more appropriate for PhD students and their advanced level of understanding. So it's getting into details like key factors that influences evaporation, like temperature, surface area, air saturation, airflow, intermolecular forces. Then it's talking about thermodynamics, broader implications, research frontiers, and so on and so forth. Something a 5th grader wouldn't understand, but this is probably more appropriate for a PhD student. So there you have it, 2 completely different responses for a similar question that we asked ChatGPT. Now let's look at another example. So this time I'm going to ask ChatGPT to convince someone to try intermittent fasting. All right, so I'm going to keep the prompt pretty generic, asking it to write a blog post titled "Why You Should Consider Intermittent Fasting." And let's look at the response. So it's starting with a brief description, a brief explanation of what intermittent fasting is, different methods, how long you should fast, the benefits of intermittent fasting. Is it right for you? Is it right for the reader? And final thoughts. All right, so this time I'm going to ask ChatGPT to do the same thing, but I'm going to define a different role and a different audience. You create health and fitness blogs for an active audience that prioritizes maintaining a balanced diet and a healthy lifestyle. Your readers are focused on staying fit and improving their overall well-being. Write a blog post titled "Why You Should Consider Intermittent Fasting," tailored to engage and inform this audience. So if you look at the title of the blog posts, this one and this one, they're completely same, but the role and the audience are completely different. Well, the previous one didn't even have a role or an audience. It was just a generic blog post. So let's see what this one does. All right, so I'm not going to read through the whole response that I got back from ChatGPT, but if you look at it in the introduction and the first section of the blog post look almost similar. Maybe there are little differences in the details, but I'm not going to read through the whole blog post. But if you keep reading, you'll see how this one is more detailed and targeted towards an audience who are already very active, and they're more focused in maintaining a good, healthy lifestyle and losing weight. You'll see that it talks about how it boosts fat loss, preserves lean muscle mass, enhances workout performance, improves recovery and cellular health, and it's going into some additional benefits, meal planning, and so on and so forth. So this gives you a basic idea of how you can get different results from ChatGPT based on how you define the role of ChatGPT and the audience the response is targeted towards. Now let's look at another example of something that might help you in your daily life, or even if you're writing a blog post. So I'm going to keep it simple. Let's say I'm looking for some hiking trails, and let's say this is for someone who lives in Atlanta and then they're trying to look for hiking trails within 50 miles of Atlanta that are between 3 and 7 miles long. Okay, so this is the prompt. Can you give me a list of hiking trails within 50 miles of Atlanta that are between 3 and 7 miles long? And we are going to, and you'll see how we are going to ask ChatGPT to reformat the response in a way that is easier to look at and understand. Okay, so I'm going to ask ChatGPT to reformat this. Okay, can you give me this information in a tabular format with the following headers, with the following columns? Name of the trail, location, length, elevation gain, difficulty rating, average user review score, and distance from downtown. All right, now you are going to see that ChatGPT is going to give me a response that is much easier to understand. It's in a table format. All right, and it does have the columns that I asked for. So name of the trail, location, it's just providing city and state, which is fine. Length in miles, elevation gain in feet, difficulty rating, average user review score, distance from downtown. Okay, I think that's pretty good. That's what I asked ChatGPT, and it gave me an answer that I'm satisfied with. So I'm just going to give it a thumbs up. And this shows you how you can fine tune your prompt and get a response that you are kind of looking for.